welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logan, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we brought on the community to talk about Season 2, where they're at, what they're feeling about the current state of the game, and some of the things that they are hoping that Rare can actually fix in the future. Some of their biggest concerns as we dive into some little bit of lore, a little bit of discussion, some speculation, and some ideas about how we can address some of the events that are in the game, and, of course, Fort of Fortune. All that and more in this week's episode of Keelhauled Podcast. Of course, this episode is brought to you by the Keelhauled patrons over at Keelhauled Podcast. If you head over to, patreon.com/Keelhauled Podcast, you too can become one of the Keelhauled members, the gold hoarders and the captains and sailors. I have different tiers that bring on people for the community for these episodes. So this week I want to thank Chateau Neuf, Cosmic Johnson, El Jefe Esteban, Lumpy SRQ, Dub Dub Goose, Evil Morpheus, Regis Stella, Rust Bell Kid, TN Professor, Toddmeister, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, CJ Super Pack, Davram TV, Fergatron, Frank F. Peterson, Captain Chaos, Kazia the Rogue, Mike Xbox Mike 29, Tech Deku, Windsor Chris, and Zam. Wow. Thank you all for your support. I love you all so much in everything that you do for the podcast. It means the world to me, and I can't wait to get some more of you on the community episodes. But for now, let's get into it. I had a couple topics that I wanted to touch on this week to get your guys' thoughts on, but really this week, this was one of those situations where I was thinking about what I wanted to hear from you guys from, and honestly, I feel like I want to get your guys' feedback on the game in general, just in the state that it's in, how you like it, if you're unhappy with things, things that can kind of be brought to the attention of the devs, and hopefully resonate with some of the other community members that feel frustrated on things. I know things like hit registration, those will probably never get fixed. That's a hard thing to fix in this game. So that aside, in general toxicity from players that, that just comes down to when you come across them, reporting them and whatnot. I'm curious to hear if anyone has anything that kind of gets off that. But before I get into that, I feel like I have to ask the obvious question. How is everyone doing in your renown? Are you done with it? Have you finished it? Like where's everyone at with season 2? So let me just kind of knock down the list and start off with Dub Dub Goose. Dub Dub, welcome. How are you doing?
Good, yourself?
Good, thank you.
Good.
How's your renown going?
100.
Nice.
Yeah,
Already.
It went really fast. And I mean, I do play a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I also, have a full-time job and I do adult things and all that stuff. So I don't feel like I had to play nonstop to get to 100. It went really fast.
Gotcha. So it definitely wasn't the sweat fest that you were kind of expecting it to be, or were you hoping that it would be?
No, I think I'm all about just being able to play the game and get rewards. I like achievements. I like, I'm a big Destiny player, I think, just like yourself. I love triumphs, achievements, commendations. I'm a nerd for all that stuff. I will play this game until they're all done, and then I'll probably keep playing it just because I like it. But I think it's a good yin yang to, commendations. Some of those commendations are there for hardcore players. The season pass is there for people that just want to get on and play. And I think that's what game companies need to do. You need to cater to both. And I think that's a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with a game that's designed around just kind of emergent threats and it feels like this game is kind of a roguelike with each session. Every session resets, so you don't really have that persistent kind of ship that you can rely on to really kind of just over time stock up and build up your power level to kind of get that sense of like, okay, I can go tackle these really hard things. It's like you kind of have to do it all in one session if you want to, or break it up across multiple sessions.
Just get on your boat, sail around, and progress the season pass.
Yep. Yeah, and I appreciate that. Awesome. Let's move on to El Jefe Esteban. Welcome, Jefe. How you doing?
Doing well. Doing well.
Good to
I
hear it.
think
How's
season
your?
two. I think I am. Last night, I know I was at 89. I don't know if I hit 90 or if I'm just barely at 90, but close to being done. And what I found interesting is like season one, I went in with it with like I was going to go in, look at the trials, kind of knock out as many of those that I can, and just see how things progress. And at that point in time, that week I sailed a lot, and then I hit a level 100 within a week. This go round, I haven't even looked at trials. I didn't want. I don't know what's in there. I don't care what's in there. I'm not going after them. If I do them on accident, fine, whatever. Um, but I wanted to just kind of I think do what you did last season, was just kind of just play and just kind of see how things go. And my overall sailing time has been less over the past few weeks, just with life and work and just different things. I haven't been able to get on in the middle of the afternoon with Patty and crew to get in those extra hours. And like I said, I'm sitting at 90, so it's moved pretty quick. Granted, I would still say that I definitely probably play more than the casual player, maybe. But overall, I've been impressed with it. Been pleased.
That's good. So you definitely, from last year to this year, or from this season to last season, you definitely feel like it's a little more comfortable in with going with a more natural flow of gameplay.
Yeah, I would definitely say that anybody who has any hesitations or fears that just with casual play that you won't be able to do it, I think is misguided. Because absolutely you should be able to hit level 100 no problem with just a few hours a week over the course of the 3 months. Because we're what now, just 2 weeks, 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, something like that.
Yeah,
And
halfway through the
uh,
second week, I think.
yeah, so I mean we're this far, and again, like I said, there has been multiple days that I have not been able to sail. So my sailing time has been cut down by probably, I would say probably a good 25% over the last couple of weeks. And I'm still, this far into it. So it's totally doable, totally manageable. And um, I think anybody should be able to do it as long as they can, put in a few hours.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Regis Stella, welcome. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Again, it's waking up at ridiculous hours to do this, but I'll do anything for this queue. I'll do anything for this podcast.
Well, I definitely appreciate being up late over in Australia. How's your renown going?
Not as good as say like Dub Dub Goose or El Jefe Esteban.
Hmm.
It's I've been trying to play CFEs, but every time I try to go onto the Requiem Alliance server, shameless plug in here for them. Uh, I've been I've been like there's like at least 20 to 30 people trying to get into the servers, and it's just ridiculous. So my renown is not as high as any of you guys, but it's a comfortable 34, 35 last I checked.
Okay, that's still
So
pretty average. I mean, that's not bad.
I mean, I like to take my time and enjoy the season and what else to come out and the whole thing. So
Yeah,
I while you guys are like blitzing it, I'm just taking my sweet time, like slow and steady wins the race, as the whole old children's story goes.
yeah. Um, I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I feel like I've just kind of been taking it casually. Is there anything different from this season from last season that you've done as far as like playing through your renown levels?
I swear the getting renown is a bit faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was like the last two times I played on the Requiem Alliance server, I I blitzed for my renown from like level 1 to level 20 to level 20 25 first time around, and when I came back the next time I was like I blitzed 10 levels, and so yeah, I noticed that they made the getting the levels a lot more quicker, which yeah, it's nice.
Okay. And TN Professor, welcome. How are you doing?
Doing fine. Doing fine. Glad to be here.
Glad to hear it. How are you progressing through the season compared to last season?
Honestly, it's somewhere in the 80s. I
Mhm.
have no clue. I have really not opened it. Just kind of just let it happen.
Yeah.
And I know I'm probably a couple levels behind Hefe, even though he says he didn't play a lot. He's got one more play session, I think, than I do, and that was enough to bump him a couple levels up. And Hefe, come on, be honest. We play a lot. So
We do. Whenever they release that thing on Twitter this week about how many hours, I did the math and I question my life choices a little bit.
it's the only game we play. That's it. That's all we got time for. So, unlike some others who split their time against other games, we believe in one true game. It is Sea of Thieves.
So how are you liking the season compared to last?
You know, when I kind of let go and stop checking in on it, and just kind of let it roll in, I'm enjoying it. I tell you what really kind of perked my interest was the rare podcast where they talked about season 3 and 4 really kicking it up another notch as far as
Mhm.
rewards being more unique than just kind of cycling through the recycle bin. And so
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I can do that. I can get behind that. Um, as I said before, we're doing it anyway, so um, we're just going to enjoy it. I did. I was on the Twitters and noticed that after season 1 was done, there were a handful of people. There always are that were complaining they didn't have time to get things done. And in my mind, this was well within reach of a casual gamer. If we can get through it in a week, then somebody that has multiple weeks should be able to get through without any issue, unless they're just not playing the game, except for they fired it up, they tried it once or twice, and then maybe they'll come back to it again.
Yeah, I think the struggle there depends upon not so much if they're playing the game. They could very well be playing the game, but as you guys can testify, you sink a lot of ships and tend to take a lot of loot, and that takes away from someone else's renown. So it's, I don't know, maybe parlay with some people and help some of the casuals get their treasure in, get some loot in.
What do I do and play Alliance servers?
Yep. It's always that's always a possibility for them as well too, if that's where they're able to get the value out of their game. Uh, Big Bad Pat, you are in the last in the queue. You've been waiting patiently. You've been hanging out. How are you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
I'm doing very well.
Awesome. I would love to know how your renowned travels are going so far.
They finished. I
Nice.
think Saturday. But I turned off all the notifications from last season
Mhm.
and hadn't bothered turning them on, and so I wasn't going out. A bit like Professor said, I wasn't going out to do any of them because I did them most of them last. I'm interested in doing it to play the game.
Yeah.
So I was quite surprised how quickly I did get to 100. Again, going back to the point you just made about obviously the play styles. I sail with a crew, so there are a minimum of 3, if not 4 of us sailing. Occasionally, we'll have 2 boats on a server. So our renown will always go up quicker than somebody who is just solo slooping or duo slooping. So whilst, yes, I've done it in 9 days, so 50 hours. That's with 3 other people playing with me. And so I can understand that there are people out there that do struggle to get 100, because that's 50 hours. All right, yes, it's over 12 weeks or whatever. But if you've only got 1 or 2 play sessions a week, and you're on your own, it can be a little bit harder to get up through the 100.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been playing with a couple crews and then some solo play personally. I've been spending a fair amount of time kind of working through just casual stuff. I really haven't been focusing too much on any of the trials. Personally, I'm at 37 right now. And I would say that compared to like when I'm just playing Sea of Thieves, I have not gotten to spend as much time on the seas as I've wanted to. A lot of the times it's maybe an hour or two each night, if that. And I really have missed out on some of the larger voyages that I generally go on the weekends. Just been super busy. I think last weekend I recorded 3 podcasts and a special thing, so I didn't even get to sail last weekend, compared to when I usually get on with you guys, and we all have a big kind of voyage and spend 5-6 hours playing straight. So I'm hoping that that'll change in the future. But to be perfectly honest, I'm kind of looking at what's going on right now with the current event, and the Reapers versus the World event seems like it's kind of worth holding out for. It seems like it's maybe worth waiting for this event because right now we've got the Gold Hoarder Emissary challenges going, and I think I've got a couple of those already knocked out compared to um, what I imagined I would have been able to. So I'm curious to kind of hear some thoughts with the current event. Right now, Gold Hoarder is the focus. That started up. What was it last Thursday, I believe, and no, it was the 22nd, which I think was Thursday, and that's going till June 22nd. So the next one won't open up until May. But as far as flying the emissary, reaching grade 5, getting the nautical miles under there, completing the turn-ins for the gold hoarders, and activating 2 skeleton forts. Has anyone had that already completed? Has anyone finished that up? Or are you guys still working on that? Or have you just been solely working on Reaper's Bones?
I don't think I have the skull forts, but the gold hoarder stuff was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I think I maybe one fort, 1 out of 2 forts. I think you have to do 2. I think maybe I've done 1.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting at as well, too.
I'm not even totally sure where we are at. The last
No,
couple
I
nights,
don't know.
yeah, Jorvik came out of retirement for so the last couple nights we've been just basically reacquainting him with the very much changed world since he was on the seas last. So we've I, I I honestly don't even know. I hadn't even looked at it. Tennessee, do you have any idea?
I don't. To be honest, we've been distracted by the Fort of Fortune popping and taking part in the server wars as every boat on the server circles the boat.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely been a lot. So that's a really good point. I think we could probably jump off into. I have only gotten to do half of a Fort of Fortune. I have not gotten to actually finish one up. I'm kind of bummed about it, but the one time that it actually popped up when it was convenient enough that I could actually go do it, uh, no one was on, so I had to open up my ship to. And I told this story to Big Bad Pat. I actually had to open up my ship to an open crew and like deal with an open crew person while trying to fend off a brig. And after we got through a couple of the skeleton lords, it was just kind of like, all right, I just got to dip. I'm not going to get to see this thing in the amount of time that I have left. So I'm hoping at some point I'll actually get a chance to go fight one of the Fort of Fortunes and have some good ship battles. Have you guys had a good chance to check out the loot in there? Like what are we
Have we?
anticipating?
You want to tell them what happened the other night, Prof, with the
Go ahead.
rowboat and the?
Go ahead.
So we ended up with, I think, was it 2 brigs? We had 2 brigs the other night, Friday night, I think it was,
Mhm.
and we were just general sea of thieving, doing whatever, and Fort of Fortune comes up, so naturally we go over that. We head over that direction, and I believe it was Jorvik, Hefe, and Prof on one, and it was me, Calico, and I'm embarrassed because I can't remember who our third person was.
I think it was Gringar.
I believe yes, it was. No, yeah, I think so. I'm just gonna go with that because I honestly can't remember. I'd have to go back and look. So what ended up happening was we were working the ship that I was on. We were working the fort, and the other guys basically just ran interference. Anybody that tried to come up on us, they would go fight them. Got into it with a pretty sweaty brig. We ended up going to help them. Galleon shows up. We sink, lose everything that we had, which was a couple hours worth of stuff. But we sank. The galleon sank. The brig sank. I don't remember if you guys ever. I don't think you all ever sank, did you? You guys stayed up the whole time.
We
But
did.
it ended up the fort got completed, and it was 3 brigs. A sloop was in the mix somewhere, and that galleon. We just sailed around fighting for hours, and it all ended up with the loot being on a rowboat somewhere, and basically everyone chasing a rowboat until we found it. Calico said he thinks he sees it. Turns out it was a tree over by Reaper. I see the rowboat. Prof goes and kills the guy on the rowboat. Prof commandeers said rowboat, and he got away with it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Let's
Yeah,
see, Hefe,
and-
help me out. It's the treasure in the Fort of Fortune is an Athena chest, several Athena crates, Athena chalices, and is it
I
an
know
Athena
there's a-
mega keg?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Two of the Athena mega kegs. There's a handful of the chalices, a handful of, I call them the eggs, the purple things.
Yeah.
A handful of the crates. There's a handful of skulls, villainous skulls, and then there's a smattering of bone dust, stronghold chest, captain's chest, maybe a couple merchant crates of things. So it's a lot. I mean, if you can get in there and obviously to maximize your goal there, you want to be a Reaper 5 when you turn all that in. But I think that it's ballpark couple 100,000 if you're at level 5 when you turn it all in. Is that
200, 250, I think.
yeah?
Yeah, especially with all the villainous skulls that all the extra captains drop, and if you do all the digs and you get good RNG on those digs and get Ashen Winds or Chest of Rage, whatnot, it's way up there.
So that was
But-
something that I was. Oh, go ahead, Professor.
Time. It can be a major time investment. I think we spent 5 hours on one fort, and on the turnaround with nobody around on an empty server, 30 minutes. So it can
Yeah.
really be feast or famine.
Yeah, because it almost seems like there's no happy medium with it either. I think I've done 4, maybe 5, and it's either an all-out brawl or you're virtually uncontested. And it's odd that there's really no happy medium. I mean, there's been a couple of times where we'll get to it and we'll start it, we'll finish it, we'll get the loot, but while we're doing it, a couple of ships will come by and we greet them appropriately. But there's no in between. It's either an all-out battle or easy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too because I was with Caleb the other night and he was getting close to 100 and I was just going around sailing. He already had a crew, so he was going about kind of doing his thing, and they finished up a Fort of Fortune, and Bolty was streaming it in the voice channel in the Discord server, so I was kind of had them on one screen and I was just kind of sailing around looking for Duke in the other to go talk to him. And after he got done with Bolty and their crew, he was like 3 levels from 100. So I was like, yeah, I'll stay up and we'll grind some stuff out and help you get that levels. And we finished up a half of a Flameheart fleet, and it seemed like it was kind of half done. And then we went and did a regular fort, and the regular fort was just completely uncontested. No other ships in the area. No one bothered anyone or did anything. Really, really strange. And then out of nowhere, we finished that up and we're calling it a night, and we were at Ancient Spire after we turned everything in, and the weirdest thing happened. You guys know the big rock that's on the opposite side of the tavern at Ancient Spire? You kind of hop up to it and kind of go up there, get a good view of what's going on with the rest of the seas. So I went over there, and as I was kind of hopping up there, just kind of casually, bouncing around as I usually do when I'm bored, just kind of chatting, someone had left a level 5 Gold Hoarder emissary flag up there. And it was really, really, really weird. But we ended up turning that in. So you guys were talking about some of the fights that you had with the skull forts. That sounds very much like what we usually had back in the day when we were just doing regular skull forts, except those payouts were like 50K compared to the 250K. So I'm curious if you guys have a good story, Professor. It sounds like you have a good story from one of those fights.
Well, there's a lot of story. Maybe we need to have a story hour. What I really wanted to say about the Glorious Fight was, again, going back and listening to Rare's podcast and hearing them talk about the intentional design they did to drive stories. And one of the ways was to create tension. And they use the word create anxiety within the game is the player versus player interaction. These Forts of Fortune, if you really want to experience them as Rare intended, you have to be on a live server because of that interaction. I did also find it interesting that they talked about, the motivation of having this big event in the center meant that if you didn't want to do that it gave you some time elsewhere on the same server to maybe go and do a regular fort or do another event while the rest of us keep circling around this one huge fort. And I love the way Rare has thought things through. I love the acknowledgement that they gave, that interaction is part of what makes these stories, these times together, so significant. And thank you, Rare, for this event. It did, you're right, Logan, it did bring back memories of those first fort events and the heart rate pounding. I have not rowed in a rowboat with that much heart pounding in a long time, and it was great to finally be able to pull it off. Flip side of that, it stinks to lose the fort. It just, to do the work and be the first one there, and then have the ship roll up on you, and you lose it. It hurts, but that's part of what makes it so valuable when you win. So
I'm curious. Oh, sorry. What do you
No,
got?
that's okay. I was just gonna just speak into that same thing. Like, I can't remember. I'm not uber competitive, but I can get fired up from time to time. And it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm on the edge of my chair. I see the rowboat. I see the rowboat. It's you don't get
Mhm.
that a lot.
Yeah.
And I keep finding myself, like, because I just like to get on and sail my sloop around and just do whatever by myself. But and then, oh darn it, there's that horn. I guess I have to go over there now. I can't help myself. It's exciting.
Yeah, I think Rare really did a justice to the community by adding a more important fort to fight over. The forts really were kind of the perfect event when they made those. The Kraken was a good way to kind of add an equalizer to the situation. And since then we have like the Megs to kind of help with that as well too. And having these Fort of Fortunes really, to me, shows that at the base level of the game, when the game first came out, that is when Rare really knew what they had. Like, they knew that forts were fun. They knew that those were going to be highly contested, and that was when the stories were going to come out. Now that we have all these tools, it's a much different ball game to really jump into these. And I love that there's a warning klaxon that goes across the entire server when one of those babies starts up, because it really is just like a, hey, you need to pay attention to this. And I almost kind of wish that this was something that happened with other events as well too. Like, I would have loved to have had this for like the Ashen Lords. Like, an Ashen Lord would open up and you'd hear this big crackle of thunder and a lot of lightning, and the sky would turn red or something really amazing. Like there's so many ways that they could kind of alert players to certain things like this, but having it be rare, having it be once every 3 hours, having it be a highly contested thing, and giving players the opportunity to say like, hey, people are going to be fighting over this. I'm going to drop down an Athena emissary. I'm going to go work on some Thieves Haven missions. I'm going to go work on an Athena voyage. If they're going to fight over a Fort of Fortune for one measly chest, I'm going to go do my own thing and get my emissary level up. And then like after I get that done, maybe I'll go see and like how they're doing. And if they're close, I'll have my Athena emissary up. I'll go see if I can snipe out the loot, grab the chest, and get an easy turn in for it. Ahoy there, pirates. This is the ad for this episode, and I did want to let you know if you wanted to avoid these and just get a regular filler, you can head over to the Patreon. There's a special feed just for patrons that get the ad-free version. If you want to keep listening, though, I can't say I blame you, because this week I want to let you know about Loot Crate and getting 15% off of most crates and crate subscriptions when you use the link and code RobotsRadio in the show notes. Also, you can head over to audiobooks.com, get your first 3 audiobooks for free, and that can include any 2 VIP books, or use the affiliate link for Green Man Gaming. If you're a PC gamer or you'd like to save money on games, it's one of the benefits of being a PC gamer. Head over to Green Man Gaming. You can get codes for Steam, Epic, any of the different stores that they have deals going on. They have deals going on all the time, and if you plan on buying there, please consider using our affiliate link. All of that goes straight to me through the network. Thank you all so much for everything that you do to support this podcast. It means the world to me, and I continue to try and improve the quality and the content for you. With that, pirates, let's get back to the show. The one question that I did want to ask you guys for those of you that were fighting over the Fort of Fortune, there has been always the comments about how buying resource crates was going to break the game and enable people to server hop, things like that. It wasn't going to be fair. People could just run over, grab crates, and instantly have a bunch of supplies. Have you, in the times that you've been contesting forts and needed resources, considered going to buy resource crates from any of the outposts?
I think overall, the way they've got it set up is really good. You really, to my knowledge and from what I've seen, you really can't cheat that system. I mean, it locks you once you buy one, it locks you out for a while. But it is nice that, like, I mean, I think at one point in that fight, we were, there was multiple times where we were dangerously low in cannonballs, and my anxiety at that point was just absolutely through the roof. And I think we did run by and grab a crate of 50 cannonballs, and then I think at one point we peeled off and took one of our storage crates and went around, and rinsed an outpost of some resources.
We were shooting each other out of the cannons instead of cannonballs because we had none.
Yeah, it's I get heart palpitations thinking about it just right now. But I think in general, yes, I love the idea of having the resources, and I think it's balanced in a way that you really can't cheat that system. The people who are doing the whole server hopping thing, it's if you've bought one and you hop servers, you can't buy one again until that cooldown period has elapsed, regardless of what server you're on.
Yeah, that's definitely something that, and I'm glad that they worked it out the way they did. The cost feels acceptable for what you need it to be, and they've kind of set it up so that and Pad, you could have jumped in if you wanted to, buddy. But yeah, he says there's an hour and 12-minute time frame between when you can buy stuff. Is that right, Pad?
Yeah, it's 3 game days, which is 1 hour 12 minutes.
That's pretty good cooldown for forcing people to not abuse the system like that. And it's one of those situations where I think because it's available to anyone, as long as you have the gold, then there's a good chance that anyone can take advantage of it. It's no different to me than if you stopped off at a pile of barrels of plenty or a shipwreck and just stocked up. being able to buy a supply crate at the beginning is expensive, but it really does kind of show like you can take advantage of it if you want to. And I don't know about you, but have you guys been finding a lot more storage crates on outposts when you hop into a server?
Well, I was actually just going to say that we've actually found more storage crates, wood crates, cannibal crates out in the world, not just the docks. People are finishing, leaving them.
That's
we
funny.
are finding more and more out in the world.
Yeah. I really do think that they really kind of nailed it with this update. So let's kind of get into the situation. Professor, actually, I was wondering if you wanted to touch on that comment that you made in chat where you said that when the Fort of Fortune is coming up, that it feels like Arena in the real world. Do you think that there's anything from Arena that could be brought over to adventure mode and kind of help solidify my desire to delete Arena?
Fine, you can take it away. That means I will have commendations that no one will ever be able to get again.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I want all the commendations moved to adventure, and I just want the modes. So actually, you guys are. Let me ask you guys, because you guys are fairly good in Arena. You worked hard to get those wins. If they moved the essence of what you do in Arena to adventure, and it was a warning klaxon similar to the Fort of Fortune, but something different. If you went and added something like that to adventure, but instead of having, one ship type, all galleons or all sloops, but it was just a mix of whoever's there, and some people could participate or some people couldn't. To me, that sounds like Arena already, aside from the different ship types. And if they spawned the Arena chests out in the world and the turn-in point was the Spire, much like Arena, there's the one turn-in point I've learned has been revised. I haven't played in a while. Do you think that that's a good enough way to? I mean, it's kind of like what Reapers is, but most people don't care about those chests. But if you could earn silver for playing in that world event of Arena, do you think that would justify my desire to delete Arena and just bring it over to Adventure?
I'm not going to push my soundboard button about salty, but I'm going to be salty about this.
Okay.
Arena was a beautiful idea that I wish they had continued to pursue. And I if they're going to do something Arena like in the live world, like the Fort of Fortune has become, then I would like it to be its own thing. Again, going back to my original argument that the commendations, the clothing and everything are the mechanism for your pirate to tell his or her story through what they wear and what they have on. And so let those of us that have done Arena and grinded that out have that story. Make new ones for this new event that you've created, Logan.
Well, I don't want to say that that couldn't be the case. I'm what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to capture what's fun in Arena and put that in a mode that is more supported and runs better, where you're not having to wait for lobbies to fill up. You're not having to wait for crews to drop in and drop out. You're not finding random ships spinning in a circle because they just need to get the credit or something.
Team deathmatch.
Yeah, like and you could totally have that. You could have that on the Spire if you really wanted to. But I'm trying to grab what's fun about Arena and bring that over to Adventure, because I think that with Arena losing its support, the people that do enjoy that gameplay style are kind of relegated to sitting in empty lobbies for a long time or having to wait for it or going to play an adventure. And I want them to feel like they're getting what they want out of it, which is why I'm wanting more of an Arena style event in adventure. And if that's the case, then let people in adventure, earn the credit that they want out of Arena modes and commendations and get whatever they want from that.
Yeah.
Even if it's a slightly different cosmetic.
I would be curious to see what they could come up with. But I'll be honest with you, one of the things that I enjoyed about Arena was I could cram my lunchtime sandwich down my face and jump on for a 30-minute round and know that it was going to be that long. And then,
True.
get back to work. There isn't a way to do that in the main game world.
I
If
like
Yeah.
this. Go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, if you're going to do that in the game world, you're going to get Sea of Thieved, and you're going to find yourself 3 hours later, and in trouble with your boss.
That's fair. That's really fair. There isn't a good way to have like a good consumable 20-minute experience in Sea of Thieves outside of Arena, which is kind of a shame because there's times where I would love to just jump onto adventure, have a full-on voyage and get it all completed and done with, and know that, there was back in the day when they were first testing this game, all the voyages had perceived outcomes in times to completion. And it was clear why they couldn't put times to complete on the voyage, because people would look at this and be like, oh, this is a 30-minute voyage. Oh, I got krakened, megged, and attacked by another player, and it took 2 hours. That voyage was not 30 minutes. So I can definitely see that aspect of it.
I could buy a supply crate and play Sea of Sort for 20 minutes. That is an option.
Yeah, that's a good mini game. Play around with the barrels and just see like, okay, what's good, and then hand it off to someone else.
I want to say something about Arena before we move on, if that's okay.
Yeah, what do you got?
I agree with Prof in the sense that I think Arena should stay separate, simply because, and the main reason for me personally is I never played Arena until fairly recently, within probably the last 6 months or something like that, and I've been playing on this game on and off since the beginning. My ability in adventure to PvP has increased exponentially since I started grinding arena combinations. It is a place where you can go and you can learn how to, especially if you're a solo slooper, something like that. You can go into arena in a essentially consequence-free environment because all you lose is time,
Yeah.
and learn how to fight. My cannon aim has gotten a million times better. My ability to just hand to hand, use my eye of reach, fight with a sword, how to shoot out to board a boat, everything. I mean, if you're serious about it and you want to learn how to not even necessarily be aggressive, but just learn how to defend yourself, that's where you go to do it. It's the training ground, and I think, me personally, that's a huge value.
Yeah. Yeah, it does kind of offer that opportunity. It's outside of it being a good consequence free place to learn, time really is the consideration there, and I think that is where I see the struggle with folks that want to play arena but can't suffer the lobbies because the mode is just the mode that it is, and it's in this point. So while it is easy enough to jump into an arena and feel like you don't have to lose anything, it's weird to think like I could probably get some amount of gold in adventure and take on a couple skeleton ships or take on another player ship and resolve to just not get loot during that session. And that session is purely just to try and get better with PvP, and run into a situation where people are going to either run from you and how to deal with that. Whereas, yeah, I can see as arena being a good training mode. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to my comments, but it's definitely harder for me to argue that point than if it was just like, oh, let's move everything to adventure.
No, I mean, I don't necessarily have anything to add per se, but if you play Sloop Arena, the lobbies aren't bad. The queue times are not that bad. I've played I'll be perfectly honest. I played Galleon Arena maybe 3 times. It just it just seems. I just don't like galleons. I mean, I like being on a ship with 4 people, because it's more social, I guess. But and it's the big daddy boat. But Sloop Arena is where it's at. I mean, Sloop Arena queues go pretty quick. Everybody else is muted to you now, so people can't smack talk you.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, you don't have to just listen to individuals go TDM, 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 TDM over and over and over again. But
Mhm.
I think you get more. You'll get more of a skill increase, I guess, is the best way that I can put it. Fighting against other players versus fighting against AI from the training standpoint of it.
Yeah.
Because Skelly Sloops do what Skelly Sloops do. You never know what a player's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
yes,
true.
Brig Arena would be awesome.
Yeah, they really needed the mixed lobbies and the brigs really should have been something that they brought into the game a lot quicker before they changed up the modes. The one time that they tested it, I think it honestly was really great. I don't know why they didn't feel like it was worth keeping, but I the devs know better than I do why they would do that. There were a couple topics that I wanted to dive into. I'll kind of leave it up to whoever wants to jump in and touch on those before we kind of open up the floor. But I did want to get everyone's kind of thoughts on Duke, if you've been checking out Duke and any of the lore that's been going on with that. The Plunder Pass rewards is something that I wanted to kind of find out, like, if you guys have been checking those out. What do you think of them? Especially the Emporium content. Is it stuff that you already have, or is it stuff that that you were looking forward to? If anyone wants to kind of jump in and touch on any of those.
Yeah, the Dark Phoenix stuff out of the Plunder Pass. Awesome set. Love the glowy Phoenix on the front. Give us more glowy stuff. I know Calico. A few of the people want more glowy stuff, Chateau included.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, glowy, 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 glowy.
Yeah, the Phoenix set's really amazing looking. I'm looking forward to hitting 100 so I can get that glowy Athena ship, ghost ship cosmetic.
I definitely think that if you like the concept of that Dark Phoenix set, it's the Thunder Pass is worth it because you get a couple of those pieces of that. In regards to the recycled stuff, it's either stuff I already had or stuff that I had zero intention to ever buy. So in that regard, it's it is what it is. But for me, for the amount of extra, because they've added in additional ancient coins into the Plunder Pass that you get back. So if I did the math right, you between the regular season progression plus the Plunder Pass progression with the ancient coins you get in both, you get somewhere between 50 and 75% of the cost of the Plunder Pass back in the course of the season, if they're awarding the same rate at which they were awarding in season one. I don't know that for sure. So in that regard, I think it's totally worth it because if you want even just one of those items that either are currently in the Emporium or will be in the Emporium in the future, it 100% is worth it. Because you end up saving tons of, a good amount of money because of the amount of ancient coins you earn progressing through.
Anyone have any discussion that they want to bring up as far as Duke, or did you guys want to bring into topics that you guys had?
Well, Duke has as is becoming tradition, I guess, is appeared on another island, and this time it's Wanda's workshop, or more precisely the Flame Arch Shrine that she's in. And when you talk to him, you get the kind of feeling that he's to put it simply, losing his marbles, and jumping at shadows, being like terrified, and just always this, like, I don't want to use the term, but conspiracy theorist kind of thing. So yeah, it's just kind of weird of like Duke just going on this grand adventure, even though we don't even know where he is half when the update comes out, unless you're an insider, have this kind of like extra knowledge, which I'm sure all of us here in the gold holders are. So and again, he's jumping at shadows and honestly not making any sense, to be honest.
Yeah, what he's doing has yet to be revealed. He's clearly hunting for something and is finding
Or
ties
someone.
to or someone. Yeah, something, someone could be hard to tell what he's going for, but it's clear that it's tied to something important for the lore of the game. And I have a feeling that we'll probably eventually get to a point where we'll understand what's going on. And
Give
those
or
of us
take
that
season
are
2 of 3. I mean 4 or 5. Or, just never mind.
at some point, yeah,
Yeah, some
we'll get
point.
there. So yeah, it's been nice to kind of follow along and see the teases that have been coming through social media from Rare, as well as the stuff that's been laid out in game. I did
Oh,
talk
don't
to
get me
him a little bit.
started.
Yeah. So there's a really good, actually, there's a really good write up for those of you who aren't sure what we're talking about. If you head over to Golden Sands blog post, Dre actually put up a really nice kind of season 1 wrap up of all of the lore that went on during season 1, both in game as well as out of game, and kind of broke it all down based on when we received it. So really good write up there. I'll grab a link to that for the show notes if you guys want to read through that, and we'll see how things are going with season 2. Was there any other topics that you guys wanted to jump into before grievances are had?
Just thinking about some of the things that season 2 has given us.
Mhm.
One, Hefe finally has some crab set stuff from season 1 and 2, which he never would have bought on his own. So it added to his closet. It's good. Um, the barrel hide emote has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Not so useful on a ship because it tends to teeter, but on forts and in other areas, it's led to some mischief and some fun. It was a little frustrating. Hefe and I got into a Fort of Fortune fight, and the glitch was still on where you would be invisible for a time. So we fought an entire brig crew that was invisible on our boat. That was difficult.
That was so much fun. Let me tell you, that was the best fun I've ever had in my life. Fighting invisible people.
There's some sarcasm in there if you're not familiar with Hefe.
It's got to be fun fighting ghosts. Let's see. So Pad, looks like you've got some grievances to bear. What are you thinking?
They're not so much grievances, but they just tie in with obviously with some of the stuff that's come before in terms of the Board of Fortune with all the Athena loot. Are we going to get a revamp for the Athena mission? Because at this moment in time, it can take you a couple of hours to just go and do an Athena mission, and you get one chest out of it and possibly half a dozen. You could spend that amount of time doing the Fort of Fortune and get 15, 20 items, including Athena chest. So I can't remember the last time I actually did an Athena voyage. And all right, yes, I am went along with cool. But there are still people that I sail with that aren't, and we'd rather go and do a Fort of Fortune or forbid the Thieves Haven run than go and do an Athena.
Yeah. I think we can all agree that the Thieves Haven run is probably one of the more painful voyages to do, just if you're trying to get Athena loot because of just how Thieves Haven is laid out and how much of a pain that can be to try and dig up all the different digs based on the different levels, and most of them ending up being emeralds or gems more than anything. So yeah, I'm with you. I think Athena missions need to represent the Athena style more, especially now that we have different types of Athena treasure. I wanted to kind of, let's see, Hefe, did you want to jump in with anything as far as the Athena?
I just think that as hard as you work to become a pirate legend, and how that should be a pretty big moment in your story, and once you become that, it's supposed to open you up to these additional things, and the amount of rewards you get out of what Athena is today is just it as other things have come into the world and have been brought about, there is just almost no reason to go do it because it's not worth it. I mean, the amount of time it takes to do any of those things versus what you get out of it, it's rough. I mean, if you do a regular Athena mission, you might maybe get to level 3 on an emissary flag by the end of your mission. Maybe. On the Thieves Haven run, you pretty well get to probably 3.5 or so. You usually have to do about 1.5 Athena Thieves Haven runs to get to level 5 to be able to pick up your emissary reward mission. But it's just not worth it. And then, I mean, just my blood boils anytime I go and do an Athena mission and I dig up a chest and it's a castaway chest. There's no reason why someone who has put in that much time in a game and is running a very high level mission should be getting the absolute lowest trash that the day one pirate was digging up.
I'm glad you said
Yeah.
it because I was gonna say it if you didn't. The mission, the Athena voyages are they're too long and not rewarding enough. I mean, that's all. That's really all it boils down to. And yeah, you shouldn't be digging up castaway chests on an Athena mission.
So I think that's a good discussion to be had because the two things that I've heard is that they're the hardest thing to do in the game based on how much time that you put into the game, and it's not worth doing them based on how long it takes. So I want to throw out some feedback and see how you would react to it if the time to do them was the same, but the payouts were better. Do you feel it would be balanced, knowing that Athena's Fortune is intended to be the hardest, most laborious type of quest? The thing that, is like, I guess a good thing for me is when I do an Athena's Voyage, that the skeletons are harder. Would it be more interesting if you got better payouts? Say, like, if the skeletons that started to pop up were skeleton captains and they started dropping skulls along with the bags of coins?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they don't have to pump up the value, the emissary value. If I knew that when I was done, I had significant gold, to time spent. The other thing I would say is the Athena legend has really just been kind of lumped in with all the other, emissary factions. And in my mind, when they first described what you would be as a legend, was more than that. It should unlock legendary status missions for any of those factions because it's more than just a faction. It represents an individual who has invested time in being a pirate in general.
Yeah.
I see it more overarching than just another one of the factions.
Yeah, I can definitely see a lot of the desire with how Pirate Legend ended up being was a lot of folks wanted to have more Pirate Legend content. And I think that one of the things that Rare has done decently well on is offer additional rewards for things when people were Pirate Legend. But I do think I agree with you that when you become a legend, that reputation should open up other avenues to earn better loot. And I think that a lot of the skeleton captain chests that you get from skeleton fleets or forts, there should be those kind of hidden away in riddles or X marks the spot voyages for missions like that. And I think that it would be nice to have Ashen Lords, or not Ashen Lords, Skeleton Lords as Order of Souls missions for a pirate legend who's working on their Athena rep, or merchants. Merchants have to deliver cargo, but they have to deliver cargo that is harder to take around. Merchant is always tougher to try and work out that, but give you a bunch of Athena mega kegs that you have to transport somewhere, and they're on a timer or something where it's like you have to get there, and it has to be within this time frame because they're very, very volatile or something like that, and add more depth to what the voyages for the different trade companies are that helped get you to that pirate legend status.
Do you remember early on in the game when you'd run across a legend, and
Oh, yeah.
and you would ask, could you drop us a mission? It could have been an Athena, or it could have been a regular, because you thought you might get more value out of it. That was one of the things that drove me to want to be a legend. Is, man, that's really cool. Is, you roll up and someone finds out there's a legend on your boat.
Yeah.
I would like that again. That feeling.
It would be nice to have that kind of status back in the game in some fashion. You don't really see anyone like going up to people, or the feeling that you felt when you would hop onto another person's boat and they'd be fresh to the game and you'd be a legend. You'd be like, oh, hey, let me grab you an Athena voyage. It'll give you a whole bunch of good stuff to work on with a good value. And you don't see that as much. And I think a lot of that comes down to the design philosophy for the way the game has gone. The game has definitely started to lean more towards that, have player engagement with events that progress through the seasons, as opposed to the emphasis on status. Like, what are your reputation levels? Like, reputation doesn't really impact the way that it used to, because we have so many different carrots to chase nowadays. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Let's see. Tall Tales. Pad, Regis, you guys were talking about wanting to have new Tall Tales or to finish off some of the storylines in chat. Did anyone want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I personally, I'd like the stories that go on with these, not just our own, but obviously. But I would like a conclusion from them before we start opening up more Tall Tales, because it's being hinted at regarding.
I'm losing you a little bit there.
Oh, then. Yeah, I'd rather that they finished off the current open Tall Tales than start new ones.
Would you want the new ones to be something that did kind of close that off, or are you thinking like let's get the story regardless of how it gets into the game?
I think yes. If the new ones, yes, we'd have to have new Tall Tales to bring in to finish off the story, but don't start a new storyline unless it is finishing off an old one. Don't just start a new one because that's what you've been working on. Try and finish off some of the stories that are already out there before you bring in new ones.
Gotcha. Regis, you had some thoughts about wanting new Tall Tales. Did you have anything in mind, or is your sentiment kind of along the same lines as Pad?
Kind of along the same lines as Pad. It's just finishing up the Flame Art story. Just any sense of lore, because I'm always like looking for the in-universe lore reasons as to certain things, like the Fort of Fortune, the Duke's jumping at shadows kind of thing, random adventures. I'm always like admiring the lore of Sea of Thieves, and anything to like satiate that. I guess you could say desire to like learn about the lore, learn about the game, and both past, present, and potentially hints of the future, which Rare has clearly been doing for the last 3 years and a bit. So I'm a little starved for lore, but and yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys on that point. It would be great to see some Tall Tales come in that tie up some of the loose ends that we've been dealing with over the last 3 years, especially with things like the mermaid statues that we know about. There's not much that really explains what those are, but they've been in the game since the first year. In fact, within the first, I think, 6 months of the game being released. I would love to understand more about what's going on with that. Professor, you have some thoughts on the bobblehead finally coming down. Do you want to dive into what you mean by that?
Please let us finish that storyline so he can go away. Even if it's just for a time. I get what you were trying to say last time, Logan,
Mhm.
that he can't go away forever because he's part of the deep lore. But at least let us drive him back to the pit where he came from for a time.
So I have a question. How would you feel if Flameheart was an event that happened? Say with the way that they're changing the event schedulers, if they're able to get multiple events running at the same time, how would you feel if there was a tall tale that helped kind of shore up some of the issues with him breaching through the Sea of the Damned, and we relegated him just to the Devil's Roar where his grave was?
That might be a way to do it. Kind of.
Can you imagine trying to do Flameheart in the Devil's Roar? Yeesh.
That's the point. That's the point.
This
Let's
just
bump
doesn't
up.
sound pleasant. I mean,
it is his territory.
yeah, but I have to. I'd be curious to see what the player engagement is with that world event now, because
Mm.
I generally play with a lot of the same people, and whenever we see his head in the sky, it's just, ugh, I sure hope nobody goes anywhere near it, because if anybody goes near it, drives by it, he talks to one other boat, he's going to be there for the remainder of the time that we're on this server, no matter how long that lasts. Because, and the same, the Skelly fleet, you can go do the Skelly fleet in 20 minutes, but him, it's like, because of the way that people just pass by and get into the zone or whatever to activate it, he just doesn't go away. That event does not ever despawn. So I'd be curious to see how much engagement there is with it, and if it's really low, I don't think anybody will miss it. But I do like the idea of incorporating it into a tall tale, so that, or something like that, so that you could get it back.
That's a good point. I think part of the reason that it's grown old is because the connection to the story of why he's in the air happened so many months ago. We've lost the newness of that. It's disconnected from that. So yeah, have it be connected to maybe a tall tale, and then people would understand why he's floating up in the sky. And some of us who have already been through that storyline wouldn't have to do that again.
Again, I have noticed a trend with our conversation, and I would hope that Rare picks up on this as well. As it seems like the problem with Flameheart is that there's not a good way for that event to reset to allow it to move on to a different event if no one's engaging with it after someone maybe tried it and failed. Because I know the time that I did it last weekend with Caleb, we were in a sloop. We did 3 waves, and it was the Flameheart wave. And at that point, it was like, well, we really didn't have to invest a whole lot into this event, and we're getting the full payout for it. So that's kind of awesome. But yeah, had we had to go through the entire event, it probably would have been kind of frustrating just how long that goes, knowing that you're just going to be there for a long time. I think it's still a really fun event. It's still kind of touchy. Like, it's still one of those things where there were a couple moments where it was like, okay, we're in a sloop and we're getting hammered, and I just want to get this treasure out of the water. So I definitely still enjoy it. I think it's one of those things where I would like to see if there's a way that it can register the last player interaction with a ship and count down from that time to say like when the ship is actually going to despawn, and then that way, or when the event will actually despawn and then kick up another one, or they figure out how to get multiple events running at the same time. If they were able to do that, if they were able to get multiple events running at the same time, would you guys care if he was still in the sky?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. Other than it, how does that contribute to the story? If we've defeated him and driven him back to his pit, as the story, then why would he keep popping up randomly?
I asked the same question about the Gold Hoarder out on Tribute Peak and the Shores of Gold. Why am I still going out for renown to finish the first Tall Tale when I've completed it multiple times? I think part of it's just due to the nature of commendations and a live service game. World of Warcraft has the same issue when you play through World of Warcraft. You go and you farm those bosses to get your loot. The loot tables are RNG based, so you always have to go back there and try and get the one thing that you have been hoping will drop. But lore sense, why does it make sense that you're going back to the same place and killing this boss that you've killed when narratively that person died the first time that you killed them, and that was the story? So part of me thinks that you have to kind of look at it from an aspect of like a multiplayer game where you have the opportunity to complete the event, because that's just how the way that those systems work. They have to be available to people. But I do want a conclusion for Flameheart, and I do want to find out what happens when we get past that conclusion and figure out, like, okay, is the world going to be different for the people that have figured out like how to stop Flameheart? Like, is there ever going to be a point where he's not in the sky? And that's what I'm hoping to find out, hopefully in this year.
I think it would be from the. Sorry, Prof. We think we talked at the same time there, but I like what you said there about games. It is a video game, and it's part of the game. You get stuff from it. It should still be there. The difference, though, I think, with you cited WoW. I used to play a game called Star Wars Galaxies, an MMO back in the day, and then even like with Destiny. Yeah, you can still go back and do, not anymore because they took it out, but you could still go back and run the Leviathan. You can get on D1 and go do Vault of Glass again if you want, but you're choosing to do it. You're clicking the node on the director to go do that activity. With Flameheart, he's there and you can't get rid of him unless you go do it. I don't want to do it, and I think it's a great encounter. So I don't get me wrong on that. I've just done it so many times that I don't care to do it anymore. Kind of like Vault of Glass.
So from what it sounds like is you would rather it be a Tall Tale event where you actively have to participate in the summoning of that Tall Tale to invoke him to come into this world.
Or do something similar to the For the Damned. You have to go do something to get him to come out. I think that would be cool. That would be really cool.
That would be cool. I could get behind that.
Yeah, don't make it as easy necessarily as you go buy a voyage to get him to come out, but maybe you have to go light a beacon here, here, and here. Borrow from the Fort of the Damned. Go do something here, something here, something here, and then boom, Flameheart pops up over Flintlock Peak or Flintlock Peninsula, whatever it's called.
Well, I really like where you're going with that, and I think that they could definitely use something like the Ferryman's Lantern to help kind of facilitate something like that. I would say, yeah, I think we could definitely do that with Flameheart, kind of break him off from the events scheduler and make him a relegated to a Tall Tale or something that would give players the functionality that they need to be able to complete those commendations post story point where we deal with him in whatever means that's going to be, and then that way it's still available for folks that need to go back and actually experience what it was like to go do that. And I actually think that relegating it to Flintlock would be a good way to help present it in a way that makes sense, because of that's where you find his body, that's where he appears, and open up the world to having a different world event that doesn't have Flameheart as one of the many in there. Maybe just kind of shore up some of these world events so that you don't feel so deflated every time you're hoping that a fleet pops up or an Ashen Lord pops up, and all it is a Flameheart or a regular Skullfort. Trying to think if there's anything else that you guys wanted to jump into before we close things up.
I just wanted to touch quickly on the hit reg. I know obviously we did before, but it was something that was talking to a couple of people over the week. As if you turn the hit markers off on PvP, leave it for the PvE, turn it off for the PvP, because in the day of the pirate, muskets and pistols, their aim wasn't brilliant anyway. But why would I need to know if I've hit them via a green prompt? Surely them dying will tell me that I've hit them.
Yeah, I could definitely be behind
People
that.
then wouldn't have so much of an argument about the hit reg not working.
Ugh. I'll take the hit reg not working well and still having the hit marker to not having it at all.
It's a weird thing, right? Because we're talking about a game that is trying to emulate the feel of something that actually happened in the world, and try and understand, like, you know, it's not accurate, but it's believable, I think, is the saying that a lot of folks kind of remember Rare talking about with the pirate game. So I'm with you in the sense that I'm okay if they turned it off, because if I hit someone, I know I've hit them. It's just hard when you want to trust the system, and you want to trust that the system is giving you the right information. If I shoot a cannonball onto a ship, but I see a hit marker, then I know that whoever I hit on there's going to be a certain amount of time where they may actually be less than 100% health, and I might be able to get a blender bomb on that ship on the next hit to knock them off, so that if I were to get over there, I would have an easier chance of actually doing that. But, you know, if you think about the during the times, if this is intended to be a believable state of pirate, you know, fantasy, we would not know that information. There's no way to know, like, if a cannon shot damaged anyone on a crew. So I see the pluses and the minuses, or the pros and the cons to the situation. I would love for this to be something that was tested in insiders to get more feedback.
Yeah, it's just I don't TDM, but obviously those who do will feel the pain more than me. Like I say, we were just discussing over the weekend. It wasn't something that we actually got to the end of discussion. It was just ideas that were around. But me personally, I wasn't thinking of cannons. I was thinking of the actual personal. So it would be the blunderbuss, but yeah, the eye of reach and the pistol. That, you know, I can shoot somebody from 200 meters away with it. It probably wouldn't have happened back in the days. I'd be okay with losing the hit markers on the personal PvP rather than the naval.
Well, you're driving the boat pad. When you shoot me over to another boat, I use it. It helps me.
I was thinking the same thing. It's either you or Dub Dub.
If you want to go back to feeling like a, you know, real life pirate, then you can turn off your HUD completely and not know if the banana helped you or not.
No, I need to know how much health I've got. It's bad enough with the blooming island banners coming out.
Okay, so as much as you like to know how much health you like, I like to at least have an idea of how much someone else doesn't have.
Fair point.
It's some good points for sure. Yeah, you could definitely go with not having any HUD and just trusting on whether or not you know how much health you have based on what you've eaten, and they wouldn't know how much health you had based on their hit marker.
The only other real kind of pain point that, you know, if the Dips were to listen and take any feedback about anything we say, mermaids are broken and have been for a long time. And I know they went in there and they tried to fix things, but I think whenever they quote fix things, they've made it worse. I mean, we find ourselves, we call it mermaid hell more than we are close to where we need to be. It's like they spawn when you don't want them to, and then when you need them, they're 1,000 miles away or not there at all. And I don't know. I would almost like for them to go back and just put it back the way it was at the beginning, and at least there was more consistency with them then. Now it's just kind of like you don't really, it's like playing Russian roulette. You don't know if you're going to get a mermaid or not when you need one. You know, and it might be where you need it to be. It might be on the opposite side of an island, and I don't know. I think it's an area that it needs some attention.
Yeah, it's broke, and part of the thing they said that they fixed for us was that they wouldn't pop up next to an enemy ship. Well, they still do. Matter of fact, I've had one pop right at the ladder as I pop my head up. It's me and the mermaid standing there together, with the mermaid, waving at the enemy ship. He's here. He's here.
I mean, that seems like a really, who knows who paid off what mermaid first. He's a warning bell. He's sitting there telling us, he's like, hey, by the way, that thing that you paid me to do, I'm a little late, but he's right here. If
I
you
would
guys want to
so
know.
love to shoot mermaids at that point.
Well, I did see that Regis, you brought up the one thing that I completely forgot about, and I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts on this. We've had some building, we've had some stray wood going on at the outposts. Regis, what do you think is the new building that Rare may or may not have intentionally leaked?
Anything at this point. I mean,
Well,
it's
what do you want it to be?
well, my heart says like a new shop or a new trade company or something. But judging by the colors and from the like the tarps and whatnot, and the design of the building itself being like made from ship parts, either Sea Dogs or Hunter's Call, because those two need a serious update. I think they have gotten an update in like 2 years at this point.
I would love to hear your guys' thoughts if all of my whining about Arena being deleted and moved to Adventure is that these new buildings are actually the commendations and cosmetic equipment for Arena. Did anyone have any wishes or dreams for what this building is going to be, or are you satisfied to just kind of sit back and wait for Rare to reveal it on their own terms?
The ability to change your ship type in a session would be if this was Hunter's Call or something like that, and if you follow the sort of, okay, now you can buy a supply crate, now you can buy a cannonball crate. Well, okay, now the hunters are here. They can give you a rowboat now, and maybe for a fair price, Merrick can do some kind of magic to change your sloop into a brig when your buddy gets on, or you can downgrade your galley to a brig when somebody leaves. I think that would be, if it was up to me, that's what it would be.
Yeah,
Because that would be fantastic. I don't even know if it's possible. I'm not a programmer, so like I don't even know if that's a thing that they could do, if it's even possible. But maybe it could be something along the lines of it just almost like it starts a new session for you, I guess, but you don't lose anything. I think that would be cool. Starts a new session on the ship that you pick, and you can keep all your supplies.
Yeah, I could definitely. That's something that I remember Shelly Preston saying on a stream, that the tech is feasible, but they would just have to work out how to do that, and that was a very long time ago. So I'm all for giving us a way to in session be able to change our ship type if we need to, either move it up or move it down to a bigger ship or a smaller ship. Anyone else have any thoughts on that before we head out?
I would even be willing, if they've worked out the mechanism, for it to have it some way within the story context to say, there are too many boats, or maybe it's we're backlogged in building sloops, so you can't have a sloop right now. To kind of take into account the server player number. But if the player number on the server did allow you to either upsize or downsize, that would be what it would do.
So that's a really interesting consideration. Right now we are operating on servers that deal with 5 ships based on them reducing from 6 to 5 to help with hit registration, just the amount of activity that's going on servers. If that persists feasibly, depending on the server, you should have the space available to be able to bump it up to a different ship type and have that breadth.
Rare did tweet out that some servers might have 6 and some might have 5, if I remember right.
Yeah,
so they're messing around with something.
Seems like they're trying to optimize it for sure. Seems like they're trying to get it back to what it used to be. It's weird that they decided to put so much in the game that they actually had to reduce the number of ships to a server. But it is nice that they're getting closer to that. But if they did keep it around 5, that would open up the opportunity to be able to dynamically change the ship type that you have without impacting the number of players on a server, so you couldn't overpopulate a server as well.
Yeah, because and it's funny when Prof said that, what I envisioned, as he's talking about, you can only have this kind of ship. Just imagine if you didn't get to select your ship type when you load the game up. You just wake up at the outpost, and you have to walk down to that building, and he tells you what kind of ship you can have. Here's what's available. And on the flip side to that, you can go play for a little while, throw all of your stuff into a storage crate, hop off your boat, throw the storage crate down on the dock, go back in there and talk to them. Well, now a sloop's available. Boom. This, that's where my brain went when Prof started talking about that. So I'll stop now.
That'd be really interesting to see. I think that would really hurt a lot of the folks that are like the same reasons why people wanted to have closed crews when the game first opened up. A lot of the folks would probably feel hindered by the restriction on what type of ship you got, or not knowing what ship type you got. Plus, you'd really have to try and work out that front end on when you get into the game, because you pick arena or you pick a adventure, but then you have to deal with like what ship type you want, open crew, closed crew, and that aspect of it. I would love to actually have it if you could actually start multiple ships. One person kind of spawn in two ship crews or 3 ship crews, and be able to have it so that, if you have more than 4 people, then you automatically open up another crew type and be able to spawn in an additional ship.
That would be an awesome way to do it. And then when the way you fix it from people not taking advantage of, say, and making, an easier way of making a server alliance is limit the number of people in an alliance to, say, 3 ships if there's a total of 5 or 6 on a server. I love that idea. Because, there's plenty of times where we sit around for 30, 45 minutes trying to get a couple ships on the server. And it's possible, and we do it, fairly often, but it's very rare that we ever have more than 2 or 3 together at one time. But for those of us who, there's more than 4 of us that want to play at the same time, I'd love that. I would absolutely love that.
I know that it would upset some people, and so I want to say first I would understand it, but I would love the idea that no matter how many ships you have on a server, that one of them is always a wild card. So you can't just own an entire server, but you would have the option to get 2 or 3 boats to begin with. But I know that that's a whole nother discussion.
It's a fair compromise, though, in my opinion.
I think the trouble is that our opinions are the ones that generally lean towards the idea that we're okay with having the wild card ship. We would want to get the opinions of folks that don't want the wild card ship on to talk about why that would be a hindrance to them and their play style, which is always available for discussion. It's always just comes back to the idea that I always want people to be able to play that the way that they want to, and the way I want to play isn't always the way that everyone else is going to want to play. So as much as I want there to be that wild card on a server, I think having 4 servers, excuse me, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Having 5 ships on a server with a possible 6th being able to spawn in to a ship server, I think would be a great way to really kind of offer an opportunity, because you have no clue like what that 6th ship's intentions could be like. They could be a Reaper, they could be a Gold Hoarder, they could be an Athena, they could be a brand new crew and spinning in circles in the middle of the ocean because they have no clue how to summon the Kraken. And having that as an availability, I think would afford some fun gameplay. But again, that comes back to that's how I would want the game to play. So I would be curious to hear if Rare did something like that, if that would be an opportunity for them to kind of play around with the way that the servers work and how many ships can spawn on them. All right, folks. Unless there's anything else that you guys wanted to discuss, I think that's pretty good. We're running at about an hour and a half. I don't want to keep you all any more than you already have spent time here. I'm sure many of you are looking to get back on the seas and get playing if you haven't already done your hours worth of Insiders while we've been chatting. And just wanted to thank you guys again for all jumping in. Dub Goose, is there any place that you wanted to send people if they wanted to talk with you outside of the Discord? I think I caught him off guard.
No, I'm here. Sorry. No, not really. Just here. I mean, I have my monitor Discord. So like, I don't really have a lot of social media stuff. I did make a Twitch stream and I was able to put a picture on it, so I was pretty proud about that. But I don't really do it very much. It's just my name. If anybody wants to go watch it, if it's ever up.
Awesome. Well, send me a link and I'll put it in the show notes, and that way, if people want to come say hi, they can come say hi.
Cool.
Hefe, how are you doing? Any place you want people to go check you out, or anything you want to send them to?
No, I'm good. I'm here. I monitor the Discord pretty frequently, so what's simply just partially my job to help you do that. So I'm around. If people need me, I tend to be pretty responsive.
Definitely appreciate it too. Regis, anything going on you want to share with folks?
Other than completing another chapter of my fanfic, you can find me on Twitter and of course Discord. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. And Dora, I'll send you the link to the thing as well.
Yeah, definitely. Professor, any place you want folks to go say hi to you at outside of the Discord server?
At this point, Discord server is fine. I have been playing around with Twitch stream, but until I get some more polish on it, be more like Shinzo, I'll keep that behind wraps.
Alrighty. And then, of course, Big Bad Pad, who's sailing pretty much 24/7 at these days. Is there anywhere that you want people to go to when you're not actually sailing?
Not really. I'm I'm active in the Discord. I do have a Twitch channel, but I don't stream that unless we're going out.
You're cutting out there, buddy.
All over. No, basically, I do have a Twitch channel even. I didn't talk properly. But it tends to be for when I'm drinking, other than sensible sailing.
Sounds good. Awesome. Well, as always, I appreciate you guys all for coming by and spending some time with me. I really love some of the ideas and some of the feelings that you guys have about the Athena, as well as the Fort of Fortune seasons and stuff. So thank you for coming by with those thoughts. I really appreciate it. It's nice to hear some of the same thoughts that I've had about things, but just to get a chance to actually spend some time with you and talk about them has felt really good. Definitely appreciate it. And once again, thank you everyone for listening in on this community episode. Again, if you're curious on how you can join in on the conversation, you can become one of the gold hoarders over at the Keelhauled podcast on Patreon. Just search for Keelhauled podcast and you'll find the link for the Patreon there. I'll put links in the show notes as always for everything that you listen to tonight and or today, wherever you're listening. Doesn't matter. Hey, you listen when you want to listen. I'm not going to be that person that tells you when you need to listen, but if you do listen and you want to share this podcast with someone, that also helps. Or you can leave an iTunes review or an Apple Podcast or whatever they want to call it. But if you're listening on Spotify, hopefully you're not dealing with advertising, because I know that's always a pain. Hopefully you got that Spotify premium. Other than that, pirates, that's going to do it. If you want to get a hold of me, you can always do so on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. You can always reach me by email at CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com, or just hit me up on Xbox. My gamer tag is in the show notes, or feel free to hit me up on Discord as well. And if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe. I've been trying to put up some actual video for the actual podcast. It's a lot of static video of me just like sitting around in Sea of Thieves trying to give you guys a good view. So I'm trying to get some footage for that worked up, because I don't know what else I would put on there. But Maybe you want to look at something different than a static image. I don't know. That's up to you. But otherwise, I want to thank you guys for listening, and I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.
In a world where solid-state electronics and vacuum tubes are still meta, people never stop loving atomic-powered everything. A chosen 500 stepped inside a subterranean vault to be spared the nuclear horror of the inevitable Great War. 25 years later, they emerge after the fallout settles to retake Appalachia. Among them, two former rivals whose blood feud will tear West Virginia apart in their epic struggle for survival. Chad, a vault bro who has a strength of 15, an intelligence of 2, and is a complete wasteland dickhead. Simon, a complicated anti-hero who chooses light and hope, but accidentally becomes a cannibal and wakes up naked and afraid with a Scorchbeast queen after a date goes terribly wrong. What? I mean, it's a wild wasteland, right? This dark humor radio drama will have you driving off the road and crawling out from under the fallout. 2 men, 1 wasteland, and so many nukes. Chad, a Fallout 76 podcast, rated R, now streaming on your holotape player podcasty thing.
Do you like adventure?
Yeah.
Do you like laughing?
Yeah.
Would you like to listen to a group of people you don't know play D&D and reference retro pop culture you vaguely remember? Excellent. You're going to love Committee Quest. We play D&D in the world of Amarin. We use adventure modules and supplements made by people in the community. We also have a sweet synthwave backing track. Come and join us on our adventure. Volume 1 has been completed. Volume 2 coming the end of January. You can find us on iTunes, Podbean, or wherever you get your podcasts from.